Hey guys, good to see you. Hope everything's working, but it should. So far it's only not worked once, so I'm gonna assume it's working. Nice to see you around. A few people already in the chat. Always good to see. So yeah, give me a sign of life, and then we can start basically. Flurry Reuter says audio and video good. I mean, that's good to hear. Thanks, man. Thank you very much. Is this Credo the German guy? Can't you tell? I think it should be pretty obvious based on the accent, but I feel honored that you couldn't tell. So yeah, good to see you guys. Before we start, big shout out to Bybit for sponsoring the show. Really appreciate it. There are links in the description. They have a Christmas tournament coming up where you can win prizes. So check that out if you're trading there. And yeah, really appreciate their support. Hello, German guy. Hi, man. Where do you go climbing, Don? Right now, nowhere, but usually anywhere where I can, really. I mean, mostly in Germany and mostly in climbing gyms. Not so much on the wall, but from time to time, whenever my friends have time, basically. So. Yep. Okay. Yeah, we can start talking about Bitcoin and then talk about some altcoins. I think. Do let me know if you want to hear something else. I mean, you can just make a comment and then we see how it goes. But yeah, I think it makes sense to start off with Bitcoin. We've got a little bit of a pullback going on. You can even see it on the higher time frames. So far, nothing to worry about. It's just a pullback. I mean, the next support is quite a bit away, but I don't think we should be going to 14K this month. That is the next support. But yeah, we'll see. This, so far, is just a pullback, a little bit of a red candle after two massive green ones, right? The weekly time frame, same deal here. A little bit of a pullback, nothing too terrible. Next support, also around 14K for me. I don't know why I don't have it on the chart. I think that just auto-deleted itself. But yeah, that's the next support. Until that breaks, high time frames are bullish. And doesn't really make much sense to kind of aim for that to fail right at this moment, I think. So yeah, high time frames not really helpful. It's the time of the low time frame traders. So I mean, the high time frames did their job, right? We got this monthly support resistance flip that led to the entire rally up, and now the low time frame traders can do their magic. And so far, what they've been doing is, I mean, just pushing it straight up. And today is, or like yesterday, was the first day where we've actually broken a support other than this. So finally had some structure break. I think it makes a lot of sense to kind of be a little bit more careful here. De-risk a little bit on the long side, see where this goes, because really we've broken below support for the second time in a row. So something that often happens when the trend exhausts itself is you get something like this where it breaks down, recovers, but then can't push further up. And that's kind of what's happening here. Doesn't mean it has to have follow through. I think like if we start going back above here, I just assume that all of this is chop, and then the trend, like this is just a consolidation pattern, and the trend in general is still up. So you would expect it to go up, right? But until that happens, I think it makes a lot of sense to be a little bit more cautious here, given the fact that this is the second failure of this level. So once can be just exhaustion of the trend, right? The second time is a little bit more severe. Doesn't mean it's the top, doesn't mean anything really. It just means that this either wants to go a little bit longer for a sideways kind of movement, or it's gonna head to like support, which is 16K, which is still like up a shitload from where it started, right? So far so good. Could obviously just reverse this based on like have like a green candle like this next tomorrow. Wouldn't be surprising if that happened. I think we'd go for another all-time high, right? And that would be fine. Like that kind of loss on, like, let's say you're long, you close down here and reopen up here. I think that's completely a fine trade-off. You lose like what, like 3% on the trade, but you avoid being long into a 10%, if not more, pullback, right? So I think that makes a lot of sense to kind of be a little bit more cautious here, but we'll see how it plays out. If you're in Berlin, you can come to us. I have the keys to a big climbing gym, Don. I'll take you up on that offer if I'm ever in Berlin in the next time, because I mean, who knows how long this is gonna continue to be, like how long COVID is gonna be a bitch. I don't know. Dude, guys, if you talk about Hex, it's an insta ban from the channel, right? So leave me with that crap. Okay, that's that. But yeah, so far so good. Nothing terrible. Just like this breakdown could just be the initiation of some chop. So, yeah. That said, the altcoins have been moving a little bit. ETH's been moving a little bit more than Bitcoin. I mean, this bounce has been quite significant in comparison to Bitcoin. Still below. This is daily resistance right now. Still in that area. Should go much, like, I think to kind of turn this resistance into support, it should close up here instead of down here. That just isn't a good look. But in general, this is also just a consolidation pattern, right? You could argue this is going to turn into something like this. But yeah, so far this is not the worst thing in the world on the USD pair, and the Bitcoin pair is just chopping around as well. So market-wide chop basically. That said, the weekly time frame, and this is also like the problem that you have right now, where you're at resistance on the monthly time frame, right? This monthly block, which has to be broken, and then you go to the weekly time frame, you get support at the weekly time frame, and then on the daily you're kind of trading into resistance. So it's a little bit difficult to kind of judge where this is all going. I think what makes the most sense to me and how I'm gonna treat this is just wait till this stuff aligns, and then once it does align, make my move. I don't need to catch the first 5% of this. I want to see it trade back above green maybe, and then I can make my move. Or if it breaks down, I'm probably not going to short it. I'm just going to see where it starts bottoming out. Two months ago, narrative 20K won't happen, stock to flow is bullshit. Now nobody sees 14K Bitcoin soon. I mean, I still think, I haven't talked about this before, but I still think stock to flow is bullshit. Seems completely, I mean, if it makes you hold, perfect, right? If you need something like that you can kind of hold through crazy prices, completely fine, but still doesn't make sense to me. But yeah, everyone can do like invest how they want to. I'm just not a believer of the stock to flow thing. Just when you have to kind of cherry pick. And for the people that don't know what it is, I mean, there's a million articles that do explain it. I don't want to go into it. But yeah, technically you can make the stock to flow fit on any shitcoin, and it just doesn't work. But it's been playing out pretty nicely. At least as long as you retrofit data. But that's that. I still think it's a bad kind of model to base stuff around. But if it makes you hold better, sure, use it. I mean, that is all fine and dandy. But yeah, the other altcoins are the more interesting ones because, like I said, ETH is chopping a little bit. Bitcoin is chopping a little bit. Litecoin clearly got rejected. We talked about this last week, where I was like, this could be a bearish retest, and so far it's kind of looking like one. So yeah, I still think, and I said this last week, reclaim this, and it's all good to go, right? And this is just a little bit away. So reclaim that, and then I'm all aboard the bull train. Until that happens, I don't really see a reason why, because this is like a 10-15% move, and what would follow if it breaks that resistance is, in my opinion, easily 60% move. And this is way more likely to happen after it's broken resistance than before. And I mean, you can kind of see where I'm coming from in hindsight now, like what I talked about last week and the week before when we were trading into this resistance. We're now down 12%. If you bought into resistance, you get absolutely rolled over. Whereas if you just wait for the resistance to roll over, you can actually make some good gains. So much prefer to not just long into resistance, but it's just me personally. So far, looks like a bearish retest. That said, I like the volatility that's going on here. If you compare this volatility to what's happened before with Litecoin in the recent past, like this is no movement at all, right? And here you can kind of see that there's some life back into it. So at least we're gonna get some volatility no matter where this breaks. Like if this breaks down, it's gonna be quick, I think. If it breaks up, it's gonna be quick. That's the stuff that I like to see. I don't want to see this go like sideways for years on end. Litecoin still not bottomed then? Looking at this chart, I don't think so. Like this bearish retest so far. I'm gonna say it's probably bottomed when we get a candle like this that closes above resistance, and then I'm like, okay, this might have been the bottom, and then you can trade it with an entry here, stop loss down here, and the target up here. And that's a really good trade. I mean, if you want to see how that would look like, even if you kind of get in a little bit late, it doesn't even have to be exact. Like that's a good trade to me. Down here, I think the chance that you get stopped out if you do this, which is still like fine to do if you're a gigabull, right? But if you do this and then target the same thing, I think the chance of this stopping out is like, it's going to play out 1 in 20 times, I think. So it's just not worth it to me. But the moment it starts breaking that resistance, which by the way has not happened before in this entire downtrend, like there hasn't really been any resistance that has been broken. Every time you approach crucial resistance, this just goes further down, right? So yeah, once it does break the resistance, there's something has changed, and then we're good to go. Until that happens, I think it makes a lot of sense to be a little bit cautious. Hey Don, do you still hold your spot BTC? Depends on what you mean by that. Like my trading, like my investment, I sold my investment quite a while ago. And I'm more than fine with that because my crypto exposure was way too high. But my entire trading portfolio is in Bitcoin. So still hold plenty of Bitcoin. It's just my investment stuff has gone the way of the dodo. And I'm more than happy with it because I was way overexposed. So for the longest time, in Bitcoin history. If Bitcoin went to zero, I would have gone to zero basically. And now that's not the case anymore. Now, no matter what happens with Bitcoin, I'm going to be fine. And I'm going to be good to go for the next 20, 30, 40 years. And that's the way I want it to be. So would have obviously been better for myself if I just sold here instead of in the 10K area. But it is what it is. More than happy with how it's gone. And it's more chill that way too. Like, I don't know. I feel like I'm getting older, and as I'm getting older, I don't want to be overly exposed to risk of ruin anymore. Like, my risk of ruin was really high for the longest time in this market, and now it's basically zero. So we talked about ETH, we talked about Bitcoin, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash. We don't even need to talk about this trash. Could bottom at any point, right? But I mean, this would just be a guessing game, so it doesn't really make much sense. XRP is one of the interesting ones, and I'll show you why. Like, what we've had on XRP is like a mega pump, right? And a lot of people still don't know why this happened. So there's an airdrop coming for XRP in, is it tomorrow? Or is it the day after? I don't even know. Like, I think in a day or two. So pumped into that airdrop and has played out since. I've hoped for a second leg, but honestly, it doesn't really look like it wants to give one. Like, whenever you get news spike up into like this caused by news coming in, basically, it usually happens like a month or something before the news. You get a little bit of a pullback, and then you get a second leg that gets sold into. In this case, you got it right before the news event, and then a pullback, and now we have the news event, which is going to be a sell in the news event. So I'm not too, like, I could see this pump a little bit based on, I don't know, like based on people trying to get into the airdrop or something. I'm not even sure if that's going to happen, but in general, like, I was planning to buy for a second leg, but it's not looking strong. So might not do that, honestly. Just based on the fact that I don't want to be the guy that buys into the news where other people are selling into. So yeah, I'd be careful here. But honestly, like XRP, we talked about this for ages and ages. That this is the support in the cycle that I'm watching, and it literally bounced off of the bottom of that. So if it does go back down here or something, gets into a nice support area, and then starts looking strong, I'm definitely gonna get some. I honestly could see, like, you can see that this was the range and this was the shakeout, right? So you have this range. This went sideways, basically shook out. I could see this go and put in another 6-8 months of just sideways, honestly. Just basically similar to this. That would be bullish, I think, in this case. And I definitely try to pick some up. But it's XRP, right? And there's a good reason why people dissuade others from buying XRP, because you just get dumped on by the foundation, the XRP foundation, the people that have made XRP that are not working there anymore. There's a bunch of people just selling on you whenever you buy XRP. So yeah, always has to be taken with a little bit of with a defensive stance, I think. Altcoins will outperform Bitcoin considerably. I mean, if you say so. I don't necessarily agree, but I don't have a strong opinion on it yet. So yeah. One thing that I want to talk about is Link. I've been telling you guys about my shorts and that I'm expecting it to underperform. It's down, down like 50% since then on the Bitcoin pair, and down considerably on the USD pair. This is what I'm talking about when I'm saying, like, yeah, look for the weaker ones. and then just concentrate on shorting the weak ones and longing the strong ones, right? So we talk about Bitcoin, absolutely massive run, right? And in stark contrast to that, Link's just been underperforming really hard. So I've been shorting Link just to take a little bit of the pressure that Bitcoin is giving me off, right? Bitcoin doubles, and then you're like, holy shit, I should secure some of that. How do I do it? And I've done it by shorting Link, and Bitcoin hasn't really gone down. Link has. So that's been working out pretty nicely. I think there's a good, this is actually stronger than I suspected, at least on the USD pair. That is mainly because of Bitcoin rallying, but still shouldn't be underestimated. Like this drop down, it's not too strong. So I'll keep a close eye on it. I'll tighten my stop losses, but so far so good, right? I mean, this just doesn't look too pretty. Even broke down from this channel that it was in. That said, I think if it can reclaim this, I think it's good to go higher. So I'll keep an eye on it. I mean, I'm in from above 15. So yeah, if it does cross above there, show some strength, I'm gonna get out, take my profit. I mean, how yeah, it's 20%. It's pretty nice. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. But so far so good. I'm liking the Link trade. And this is something that I think a lot of people are missing in the crypto space, is just looking for strong, like, strength and weakness. You don't necessarily have to be short the entire market or long the entire market. You can be long something and short another thing and reduce risk that way. So that is Link, but yeah, Link's been pretty nice. Just based on the fact, like, the good thing about these kind of altcoins is that this is the Bitcoin pair, right? You look at this and you see, okay, holy shit, there's a long way to go down for this too. Like, it went through its first cycle, right? And my entire thesis is that that cycle is over, right? We can even go and chart it on something where it's been longer. I think Bitstamp has had it longer. Nah. Huobi, maybe. I don't even know how to pronounce it in English. No, nothing really. But yeah, it's been around a little bit longer than that. But in general, right? So whenever you have these kind of massive rallies, these cycles, and then they top, what usually happens is you get an 80% pullback after the parabola has broke. So far, we're not even close to that. So there's a lot of room to go on the Bitcoin pair anyway. So I'm going to look for an exit if I get it down here or on strength. And yeah. Don, does it feel like there are no bear follow through on Bitcoin, just like 10Ks? Yeah, I mean, if you're a bear on Bitcoin, kind of not having a lot of fun. So, I mean, this isn't really the breakdown that you wanted to see as a bear, right? So, I mean, it's a bullish trend, right? What do you expect? In general, I think, if anything, hedging makes sense. I wouldn't necessarily want to just net short. It's not really something I want to do based on nothing on the higher time frames, right? There's no higher time frame resistance, so it's relatively difficult to just make a good trade thesis and just trade based on that. It just makes more sense to kind of wait for it to develop, and that's what I'm doing. So I'm just hedging. So far, I've been hedging with Link, as in just short a little bit of Link. Might add some of a Bitcoin hedge today, not entirely sure. Might short another altcoin instead. We'll see. Still haven't made up my mind. XMR performing great. We can look at XMR. Is this what you call performing great? I can't say I agree. It looks pretty bad to me, to be honest. These are old examples of ways to trade this. But yeah, it's not looking good. Could obviously play out in a bullish fashion, but this is anything but good to me. So I have a range, and I think I just removed the drawing of exactly what I wanted to show. I have a range, go sideways, you break out, and what happened is broke back into the range, right? So if you don't remember, one of my favorite altcoin kind of setups is this. It's the exact same side, but exact same setup, just in inverse. This setup obviously on the long side usually plays out better than on the short side, but still, like, this is not looking good to me. Trade back above here and it's all good, and yeah, we could see some upside. Then it might be just an accumulation floor or whatever. But in general, like, if anything, I try to look for shorts here. I'm not really one to short XMR, but like, just based on the chart, and if this was a little bit more liquid, this is where I would want to short, not where I would want it long. And I wouldn't be surprised if it just falls out and doesn't even reach there. So not too big into XMR right now. I was on this breakout. If you guys remember, we talked about this. Took some profits too early. Could have taken profits into resistance. I took them somewhere here or here. But yeah, not too big of a fan. So yeah, and it's the same with Zcash. Someone asked about Zcash, and it's the same story, just even worse. Let me actually, like, this is something we've had on the stream for ages. This is the direction of Zcash, right? Just straight down, has been forever. This wants to go down in general, and to kind of change that, it has to do something major, and so far it's not done so. But let's get a normal chart on this. So like, this looks absolutely terrible. I mean, no one else, like, I see these charts on Twitter floating around, whether like, yeah, you're gonna be poor if you don't own SEC, whatever, right? This isn't, I can't see it. Like, I don't see it. For me, this is a range that we've had in here that broke to the upside, provided support, all the way into a bearish retest, into this consolidation that we've had in the past. And then it bled out. And it's looking bad ever since, right? This is a failure of a range breakout. Bearish retest down here. Support's been tested a couple of times down here. I mean, I'd be surprised if this doesn't break down. I don't want to short this, but this doesn't look good to me. So that's kind of my opinion on Zcash. I don't really see where the bullishness is coming from. I'll let the people that want to be bullish, I'll leave them be bullish, but I can't be bullish unless we actually start trading above here, because then you could make the argument that this double bottom, it's trading up here, and then you actually have a setup too, right? So let's say it does trade up here. You have a setup, right? So your setup is, you take a long somewhere here. Your stop loss is, okay, this double bottom really shouldn't be tested anymore, because I mean, it's broken to the upside. So in this kind of area, really shouldn't go there anymore. And then the target is the bearish retest that we've had before. And I mean, that's a good trade, right? But down here, just betting on it holding, I mean, yes, the potential reward is higher, but the risk is much higher, right? To get stopped out there. So I don't want to take that risk. I don't want to take the chance. I think the chance of this breaking down is much higher than the chance of it breaking up. So you have a support, because basically what you're doing, right? You have a support that's been tested once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times. And then you're like, okay, now it's gonna hold, right? This reminds me of Bitcoin at 6K, where you've had this floor that's getting tested 6, 7, 8 times. Whoops. And then it just rolls over, right? And obviously, afterwards, Bitcoin has had an incredible run, right? And Zcash could have the same thing, I think. But for that to happen, I think it would have to break down. And who knows how low that's going to be. And then maybe go sideways, maybe do anything. Can do anything down there. And then reclaim the range. And then you have a really good setup. And you have a really good macro kind of reason to get along this. But right now, I don't really see it. But I'm down to change my opinion the moment it breaks resistance. And that is something that you always have to be open about, right? This could be a double bottom. I'm just not willing to gamble on it because, I mean, this double bottom has been tested like 6, 7, 8 times. So, don't you think it's time to move on to newer coins? I see that you mostly chart old coins, but it's not that likely that they will outperform Bitcoin, to be honest. I disagree. I mean, just look at XRP. People were like shit talking XRP the entire time, and now it's up 100% in comparison to Bitcoin. And then you look at Link, which is a new coin, and what has that done? It's dumped by 62%. And I mean, you can even look, if you want to make it even easier to see. This shouldn't be Bitstamp. Say Binance, easier. Kind of see that that's actually outperformed Link by quite the margin. This looks not as strong, but I mean, this outperformed Link massively. Yes, it's been outperformed, but now it's outperforming Link. So it's all a matter of where you are in the cycle, right? And I think the older coins that you're talking about, I mean, for example, XRP, this is a cycle low, right? This is a cycle low if you look back on... Like, I've talked about this cycle lows for ages and ages, right? We've bounced from this level a million times, right? This is at the lows, the cycle lows is interesting. And then you look at Link and you're like, okay, where is this? Well, it's just completed its first cycle high, right? Do I want to trade this new coin that's just made its high? Or do I want to trade an old coin that's been around for a while where I know where the cycle low is? So if it does actually break down from that, I know that it's fucked. Whereas if I get long Link, where am I wrong? Like, where are you wrong if you long your Link here? You could argue, okay, you're wrong if it starts closing below here. But really, that's actually a much better entry than here. And then if you look at the other new coins that people love to talk about, and this is actually one of the best ones around for this, there's a good chance that this has put in its cycle high, the first one as well, right? With this being the top. And then you have this typical kind of strong move down into a bounce, and this could go a little bit higher still into second leg down, right? So depends on what kind of new coins you're talking about. If you're talking about the ones that don't have any price history, then you could be right, yes. But then again, like, I don't need to chart those. Like, if I find a coin that I find interesting with no chart history, why would I chart it? Like, there's no chart history for me to do so. Like, if I'm bullish on a project, I buy it if it's new, right? You don't need the chart for that. Can't be a bull market if my long exit was the local top. That is true. That is true. For the people that didn't see creds exit, he exited along in here. What a Chad. But yeah, I don't know. For me, it's kind of like the people that are talking about the new coins and why are you talking about the old coins, kind of missing that now you have the market move, like the market stopped moving in tandem and it's kind of moved like narrative wise. You have this new coin narrative that goes up and then you have this old coin narrative that goes down on the opposite side of it, right? And the old coin money just goes back and forth. So you have these new coins, they're all shiny, so the people that are holding the old coins are capitulating on their old coins to buy the top on the new ones. And then you get these massive bounces on the old coins, like XRP, for example, did. And the people that just bought the top on the old on the new coins are now looking at the old coins like, fuck. So it kind of, I think it's, people are missing the point of how cycles work by just chasing the new stuff. That said, if you get like a new project that you know is going to be listed on Coinbase, Binance, wherever, and it doesn't have a chart history, do go ahead and trade that. Makes a lot of sense. Or like you don't even have to trade, you can just invest or whatever. But that's not really something I could chart on this. Oh man, just joined the stream and Don is defending his dinosaur altcoin Bitcoin obsession. Perfect. I mean, it's just my opinion, really. I think, like, for example, I've been trash talking Link for weeks now. And it'd be funny if this was the bottom. But I've trash talked Link for how long has it been now? And people have been saying, yeah, you're focusing on the wrong coins ever since. For 100 days, I've been shit talking Link. And it's just been underperforming everything. And then the old coin Ethereum, which is an old coin, in that same time has done much, much better. If you compare ETH BTC to Link Bitcoin, you can see how this is performing much, much better now in the last 130 days, right? It's up 100% compared to Link. So the new coins are struggling and the old coins are kind of coming back on some fronts anyway. So it's always a back and forth. And if you're just dismissing stuff just because other stuff has been going up more or whatever, I think you're missing the point. But I could be wrong on that. Could be that I'm just coping because I like the old coins better than the new ones. Any opinions on the 140k Bitcoin units released by Mt. Gox to people affected by hack back in 14, dump narrative intensifying? I could see that. Like, I've heard about it. A lot of people are talking about it, yes. We'll just have to see how it plays out, right? That kind of narrative has been in play for years now. Like, people have been talking about it for ages and ages. You always see, oh yeah, once the Mt. Gox coins are released, it's going to dump. And then every time it kind of gets close, it gets delayed. If it does get released, I think we're going to see a sell-off, yes, just because the narrative makes a lot of sense. So we'll have to wait and see if it does happen. But yeah, if it does happen, I think we're going to see at least a short-term pullback. Not afraid of the Link Marines out deck. I mean, I haven't tweeted about it, but you guys have heard me say trash talk Link on the stream for 100 days now, so it's at least something. So you get the secret alpha because I mean I've been shorting Link for ages now and I've done it very successfully, but haven't really shared it on Twitter. But you guys have been a part of it the entire way, so at least you can say you get something special from me on the show. Will the dump drop price below 16k? I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, there's no high time frame stuff that you could use. Like, whenever you have this and people ask me, okay, yeah, this is going to go to 14k, right? I mean, the next high time frame support is 14k. Does it go to 14k because the next high time frame support is there? No. I mean, just because there's support doesn't mean it has to go there. Would I want to buy it if it does go to 14k? Yes, I would take a long there, at least the first time it hits it, if I get it, right? But I can't just say, oh yeah, I think it's going to 14k. It's a shitload away, and a lot of stuff would have to happen for that to be the case, right? I think the only kind of thing that makes sense to me right now to talk about as in predicting the future basically is saying that 16 to 16.3 is massive support, right? So if we do get rejected here, this is my kind of target, or what I'm looking to, where I'm looking for Bitcoin to find support. That's all I can say. If that breaks, we can talk about 14K, because I think this is pretty shitty support, honestly. If this breaks, I think 14K is the next one, yes. But it doesn't make sense to talk about 14K if you're trading just below 18K, which hasn't really rejected price too much yet, and we still have this 16K support in the way, right? So instead of kind of looking for the far away targets, makes a lot more sense to kind of focus on the next support and next resistance. Next resistance is 18K, next support is 16K. Is it gonna reach 14K? I don't know. We can talk about it if it breaks 16K and then just loses 16K support. Hope that makes sense. Has funding been paying you to short? Yes. It's been the best part about it all. I've been getting paid all the way, man. Don, when are we getting alt season? Good question. I've wanted to talk about this for a while, right? So in general, in what kind of conditions do altcoins do well? One, obviously, bunch of retail coming in, right? So, retail. Do we have that? I don't think so. I would argue, I mean, there's a bunch of people and there's a bunch of retail coming in, don't get me wrong, but there's nothing in comparison to what happened in 2017. Like, retail participation in this is much, much smaller. And if you want to ask me for the reason why, I'd say it's Tesla. Like, if you look at the Tesla chart and compare it to Bitcoin, right? Tesla compared to Bitcoin. I don't even know if this actually works well. But yeah, Tesla has been outperforming Bitcoin by quite a margin. And Tesla is, I mean, you can sell people Tesla much, much easier than you can sell them Bitcoin, right? You don't have to be a genius to understand Tesla, because you're like, oh, electric cars, whatever. It makes a lot of sense. It's going to go up. It's the future, right? This makes a lot of sense to retail, right? You look at this, makes a lot of sense. And then you look at the actual chart and you're like, what the fuck is happening here, right? Up 1.6%. And then when retailers have this to play with, they don't have to get into crypto to get their crazy gains, because crypto's been boring in comparison. So you have Robinhood playing with options. You have all this kind of stuff in the traditional markets where you don't actually have to get the retail kind of mania. It's not easy to get them over to Bitcoin or to crypto when you have crypto put in like 100, 200 gains, 200%. And then you have the traditional markets where they're absolutely having a blast, right? 1.6%, 1.6K%. Like, this is much crazier than the Bitcoin run has been. And when you have that, it's obvious that the apes are sitting in this, right? So you don't have the retail participation this time around, and it's kind of the fault of the traditional markets, right? So that's kind of missing. And then you need Bitcoin in general to kind of be at all-time highs. That is the case, right? So we have Bitcoin at all-time highs. So we have that going for us, which is nice. But we don't have much attention in the crypto sphere. We have like some boomers that are like, oh, actually Bitcoin is cool because it's gold, whatever. But that's not going to interest the newer generations too much, right? So you have like these people with a little bit more money put in a shitload of money into crypto, but you don't have the retail people. And the retail don't like this. These are the people that are buying the all-time high on the altcoins. And those are the ones that are making the altcoins go up, right? The institutional people, yeah, they may, like, ETH might go up a little bit, but like you're not going to see the grand old season that you've been promised, I think, when you don't have retail. But you have Bitcoin at all-time high, and then you have to have some kind of ignition in general. In my opinion, last time you kind of had this pre-run rally. So I mean, let me pull up the Doge chart. There it is. So yeah, you get this, right? Early 17, you get this massive altcoin run. And that's where altcoins were, like, people were actually looking at altcoins and like, holy shit, this is insane. I mean, I told my friends how much money I've made with this altcoin run. Everyone kind of talked about it, right? And then you had that retrace because Bitcoin just completely went bazooka. And then you had the run where pretty much everyone participated, right? This was not too many people in comparison to this one, right? So you kind of have to have a massive pump of some sorts in any crypto, really, besides Bitcoin. Like, let's say ETH mega rallies to like $2,000. That's where you get the kind of the ignition into the other markets, in the other crypto markets. So far, we haven't had that. ETH is kind of the closest. But then again, like, this isn't a crazy chart. Like, compare this to the Tesla chart. It's not too crazy, right? So yeah, for me, there's still, the conditions aren't really there for an old season. That could change really, really quickly. Like I said, like, it just takes XRP to times 10, and then you're gonna see some completely stupid moves on all the other altcoins as well. But it's not really happened yet. And until it does, I think it just makes sense to be a little bit cautious on the altcoin pairs, just based on the fact that they've all been going down, really. Like, the DeFi stuff, the new DeFi stuff has had some nice rallies, and that's a little bit different. But like these, like the general altcoin market, not so much, not really interesting. So that's kind of my view on it. How could this entire thing change? One, we smash Bitcoin all-time high hard, go to 30K. I think then it'd be all over the news. And then you would actually start to get retail interest. So far, even at 20K, not that much there. Two, let's say you get a crash in the traditional markets and Bitcoin or crypto in general holds up well. That would kind of get the retail people that are gambling on the traditional markets over to crypto as well. Like, there's a few ways. But until that happens, I think it makes a lot of sense to kind of be a little bit defensive. That said, there's going to be nice runs. I mean, XRP doubled in no time at all. So doesn't mean just ignore altcoins. It just means that Bitcoin is probably going to outperform them. And that's something that I've been thinking about for a while now, is if Bitcoin rallies hard, the altcoins are not going to do well in comparison to Bitcoin, right? If Bitcoin pulls back heavily here with like quite the speed, which it could, given the fact that it's up a shitload, I don't think the altcoin pairs would do so well either. So it's kind of like you're in this position where it's very likely that you're not going to do too well on the altcoins if you don't find something that's actually good. So if you find something that's good, a project that you think makes sense fundamentally, where you think a lot of people could kind of FOMO into, a different story, right? But something that you have to think about with the altcoins and Bitcoin relationship right now, like, what's the narrative for Bitcoin? The narrative for Bitcoin right now is that it's a better gold. That's the narrative. That's the entire pump narrative since 10K. This is a really good gold, right? Well, like, how does that work for the altcoins? You have Bitcoin as gold, right? These altcoins are obviously not gold. There's something else. So you have this narrative going for Bitcoin where it's like, oh yeah, this is scarce, this is really cool. You don't have that going for the altcoins. So, because it doesn't fit, right? And so the entire narrative of the pump has to change for the altcoins to do really well. Or the pump has to get so incredibly insane that people don't really give a shit anymore. And then you get so many new people in that the altcoins can do well. Until that happens, I think it's just it's a tall order to ask them to outperform Bitcoin when it goes on a run like this. That's all I'm saying. Do you see anything unsettling if we continue to chop, range break daily market structure, float to lower below all-time high? I think if this goes slowly, it's actually good. Like if we put in the range here, this is actually the most bullish thing that could happen. If it goes quickly, I'd be getting a little bit scared. Like, let's say this accelerates and it maybe breaks 16K even. That's why I get worried. But if this just floats around here and chops, I mean, what it is essentially is move up and then vertical accumulation in here. Same thing in here. Then you have a move up and then you have a giant trading range. I mean, that's not bearish, right? That's still bullish. So if it just puts in a trading range here or floats around near all-time high, I don't think that's too bearish. Wouldn't make me worry too much. If it does break down 16K or break down 14K, like 14K is really the line in the sand, that's where it would get bearish. And that's so far away that we don't even have to think about it right now. Because, I mean, why would you think about it? It hasn't even broken 16K yet. Hasn't even broken convincingly anyway 18.6 yet. So, yeah. Thanks for sharing your perspective, Don. Very happy to do so. Thanks for listening in, man. 13.8K is programmed in the matrix, says Trader Main. I mean, I could see it. That's why I start worrying, right? Like the 13.8, I'd start worrying about the bull trend being over, honestly. But honestly, like in the end, it'd be almost... Jesus, I hate this new feature where you make dots everywhere. I mean, it'd be a 30% pullback, so I wouldn't be surprised, right? And I mean, whenever people get worried after, like in a bull market, after a 30 or 40% pullback, I mean, it's fair game, right? I probably buy 14K anyway. Like if it does dip to 14K, I'd buy it, take a long, hope it's just the bottom. So yeah. Don, would you mind having a look at Verge, please? I think you will really like it, dude. I hate that coin so much. I had so many arguments with people about how shit it is at the all-time high. That, like, I literally, for the people I have told the story, like for the people that have my story, like heard my story before, I bought 50 sats on Verge. Like literally 50 sats. Like pretty much the bottom here. And then sold 100, right? So that's like, if you look at the chart, it's obviously like that's why you can kind of understand why I was salty about this entire pump, because fuck that. You sell that times 2 and you get completely fucked, because if I sold a little bit later, would have been insane, right? Like just absolutely insane. I obviously rolled the profits into something else, but nothing that went up this much. But fundamentally, this coin is shit, right? Always has been. Dogecoin Dark. This is like, that's how it was called before. It's trash, right? So yeah, I argued with people to at least take some profits. Everyone called me stupid, whatever. It just went down, right? But I mean, I was the idiot for selling at 100, right? So, I mean, can't really argue with them. That said, now it's retraced that entire thing and is actually below where I bought back then. This entire pump has been retraced, and it's actually lower than I bought. Yeah, I'm not a big fan in general. This just looks like it's infinitely, like this is gonna do something like this. This has been the big pump, and then gonna do something like this, and then something like this, and eventually it's gonna end up at 1 sat. Trust me. This is gonna have an exit pump. I don't know. I don't even like this chart too much. So what basically happened, is put in a range. It pumped to the upside. and failed that pump, broke to the downside, and retested. Not a big fan, but then again, like no matter what this does, I'm never gonna buy it. Like there's some coins that I'm never gonna touch just because they're so obviously scams. Verge, one of them. For the Hex fans in the chat, Hex, one of them. I think like anyone that buys it has a few screws loose, in my opinion. Other than the people that kind of saw the Ponzi going, but I don't want to support a Ponzi. So like there's a few coins I'm not gonna touch ever. Just one of them. So yeah, Bitcoin is a scam. I mean, if you think so, that's fine. I don't think so. So yeah. You know, he must be telling the truth. He used all caps. Yeah, that is true. That is true. But XRP is a scam, and now everyone's longing it. Linky too. It's a little bit different. XRP actually has a narrative going for it. Like Verge is just complete trash. Like XRP, you can sell this to someone, let them have a look into it for a week, and they're not gonna know that they bought a scam, right? Whereas if you sell someone like XVG or Verge, they look into it for an hour and they know that they bought a scam. And yeah, it's just how it is, right? It doesn't really make sense to buy like that obvious of a scam after it's already completed its pump and dump cycle. For me, anyway. Could it put in another one? Obviously. I mean, these crypto coins, they never fail to surprise me. But eventually, the bad ones head to zero, right? And when you have stuff that actually could hold promise, why focus on the ones that are really trash in comparison to like just getting something that might have actually something going for it? So, yeah. Is Bitcoin Cash a scam? I've seen several businesses accept it. I don't think Bitcoin Cash is a scam at all. I think it's one of the better altcoins. Some people will disagree hard with me on this, but I think Bitcoin Cash, I mean, it's failed, yes. But is it a scam? I would not say so. But yeah, it's obvious which Bitcoin is preferred by the market more. But I wouldn't call this a scam. Based on, like, this is built on the conviction that Bitcoin should be something else. And I can respect that. The culture around Bitcoin Cash is cringe, I agree, yeah. But like the thought about it and the reason it exists, I totally get. Just a Bitcoin ripoff? No, it's like when you have like, it's basically like saying you go into the Christian faith, right? And you have Catholic and evangelist or whatever it's called, right? You have these two things. You could say like one is a ripoff of the other, but it's not necessarily the case, right? It's just a disagreement of where the church should go. And that's kind of what Bitcoin Cash is to me. It's obviously not the popular one, and I mean, you can kind of see it on the price, but I think it's not necessarily built on dishonest, or it's not built dishonestly, it's just a disagreement of sorts. Protestant, yeah, thank you. I'm German, I'm allowed to not know English words. Are you comparing Great Right to Martin Luther? No. But you get what I'm saying, right? Stop trolling me. You get what I'm saying. So that's kind of my opinion. It's not a price prediction. I have no idea. Like, this is a strong bearish trend, and Bitcoin Cash has been taking it really hard, right? It's just, yeah, I wouldn't say it's a scam. It's not made to pump and dump. Anyway, yeah, enough about that. Litecoin is better than Bitcoin Cash. Yeah, I like Litecoin better too. I think, like, if I see an altcoin window, right? The coins that I want to get is Litecoin, definitely. I want to get XRP just because XRP always pumps when altcoins do well, right? Litecoin, I like XRP. Bitcoin Cash, I'm going to get just for the meme. Oh, is Bitcoin actually the real Bitcoin or not? I think if altcoins do really well, you could see Bitcoin Cash do relatively well based on that narrative as well. It's obviously going to be, it's not going to maintain itself, but you get what I'm saying. And then I want to get Dogecoin just because I love Dogecoin. BAT, could see Nano do well when everything is doing well. Just because the first pump cycle, like the fans are still around. So I could see Nano do well. Komodo as well. WeChain, same story. Could see that do well. Not entirely sure about these three. Not entirely sure about Zcash. But like there's a few around that I think could do well. That I want to get if altcoins do well, or if I see an altcoin cycle coming. But so far I don't see an altcoin cycle coming. And I'd much rather that's the thing, like the altcoin cycle usually starts with something exploding out of nowhere. XRP exploded out of, you have news coming, right? But Litecoin, for example, if you look back at Litecoin, that was one of the clearest indicators that something was going on back in the day. So what you had is, and I hate that this chart is ruined, but let me get this on another one. So, massive capitulation, and then you had an insane pump, right? This is 5 days basically. Like the Litecoin old season was done in 5 days. Here. 5 days. That's what that was all. Like this is the old season of Litecoin. If you look back on it, you had 5 days, and then it was over, right? But that was before everything else pumped. Like this pumped like crazy, and then just stopped, and then money cycled from Litecoin into other things, and then everything just kept on going, right? So when you see something like this, and this is an insane pump, this is nothing compared to the XRP pump. Then you might be in for a treat. So far, I mean, I was kind of hoping XRP would do it. And this is quite the significant pump, even more so given the fact that a lot more XRP are circulating now than they were back in the day. So this pump is actually significantly bigger if you compare it to the old one. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But if this puts in a second leg, and actually rallies besides, like, even though like people sell into the news, I'm gonna get altcoins just to not risk missing out. Litecoin has survived in top 10 too long to be scam. I mean, it depends on, like, it's always easy to call stuff a scam, right? You don't like it, it's a scam. I think like there should be a little bit more of a distinction made. You shouldn't really be saying, okay, everything is scam just because I don't like it. But if it's very obvious that a coin is made just to make money, I just call it a cash grab, a scam, whatever you want to call it. And the Litecoin is clearly not one of those. And Bitcoin Cash isn't either. There's quite a few even on my list that are, right? But yeah. There's a big difference there, I think. Difference of intent. I mean, all of these altcoins might not amount to anything in the end, right? And there's a lot of businesses that don't amount to anything in the end. But they're not necessarily scam businesses. They're just something that, like a failed idea, basically. BSV is, I kind of, like, I can't necessarily disagree. I don't like BSV. Because that kind of, like the entire I am Satoshi thing, that is, at least from my standpoint, that kind of looks scammy. Like, I just don't think that's true. But, yeah. Damn, I remember that Litecoin pump and sold too soon. Same here, man. Same here. I sold a 2x, a 3x. But then I just used my money and all into other stuff, so. Did Don already chart Hex? Nah, I'm never gonna chart Hex, man. Like, I did not tweet once about BitConnect. And I'm not going to do the same about Hex. Just going to say it's shit. In my opinion, I wouldn't touch it if you want to keep your money. It's my opinion. Could be the next Bitcoin for all I know. I think it's shit. And I think it's a Ponzi. But I could be wrong. So yeah. That's kind of it from my side, I think. We talked about a bunch of stuff. Something that I want to say before we end it, the stream, is if you have any idea, like any stuff you want to talk about, we could make this, like we could sometimes like do a Wednesday and just do like educational stuff or whatever. Not go through charts, but do something else instead. If you kind of have an idea in that direction, let me know. If you want to see something else, just kind of leave a comment. If you're happy with how it's going, like just going through the charts, shedding a little bit, it's fine by me too. Less preparation, less work. But yeah, if you have any ideas, if you have any kind of suggestions, just leave them in the comments below. I'll look at them, see if anyone has any good ideas, and yeah, we'll go from there. But yeah, thanks for coming by. Thanks a lot to Bybit for sponsoring the show. Their links are in the description if you want to check them out. Like I said earlier, they have a competition going on. So the link should take you to that if you're interested in it. Yeah, so thanks to Bybit for sponsoring the show. And thanks for you guys for coming by, hanging out. Always appreciate it. It's always nice. Sometimes I get an idea or two from the chat where I'm like, oh, this is smart. So appreciate that, and always appreciate you guys hanging out, kind of making it more fun. I have an idea to talk about mining stocks. It's a tall order, but we could actually invite someone that knows their shit on a Friday. But yeah, thanks for coming by, guys. Really appreciate it. And we'll see each other on Friday or next Wednesday. Bye-bye.